Chosen one, listen closely. You were never ordinary, never just another soul passing through this world. Before you drew your first breath, your essence reverberated through dimensions unseen, through realms untouched by human comprehension. Your name, though not spoken in words, was a vibration of light, wrapped in reverence by celestial beings who witnessed your descent into this dense plane. They saw you, veiled in forgetfulness, step into this reality, knowing you'd one day awaken to your truth. In the 14th dimension, you weren't merely a soul. You were a frequency of divine memory, a force so potent that your presence shifted the vibrations of entire galaxies. Your wisdom, older than the stars above, marked you as a chosen vessel through which divine light flowed without resistance. They wept as you entered this world of flesh and shadow, not out of sorrow, but in awe of the journey you'd undertake. They knew you'd remember, and that remembrance would change everything. This life you're living, the challenges you've faced, the isolation that's gripped your heart, it's not random, chosen one. It's all part of a higher call, a divine echo from realms beyond. You've been hidden, disguised by time, tested by pain, and yet you stand tall. That's not just survival. That's your divine memory refusing to be snuffed out. The world has tried to convince you that you're powerless, that you're small, but deep within, there's always been a knowing, hasn't there? A whisper, a flash of something ancient stirring inside you, reminding you of who you truly are. The systems of this world weren't built for you. That's why you've never fit in, why you felt like an outsider. They were designed to keep you asleep, to distract you from your celestial roots. But look around. The cracks are forming in this illusion. The light is bleeding through, and your spirit is waking up. Every fear, every betrayal, every heartbreak you've endured, these weren't punishments. They were initiations, fires meant to forge your remembrance. You're not becoming powerful. You've always been powerful. You're simply remembering it now. Beyond what your eyes can see, there are realms not made of matter but of memory, song, and frequency. They breathe like living archives of divine stories, and in one of these forgotten realms, your name was sung, not spoken. It wasn't a name you'd recognize now. It was an energetic signature, a vibration that carried the essence of your soul. When that vibration moved through the air, entire atmospheres shifted. Beings of light gathered, not to worship you as a god, but to align with the energy you carried, an energy that reminded them of the source, of what is pure and eternal. In those realms, you weren't bound by form. You moved like light, with intent sharper than any blade yet gentler than a breath. You held the wisdom of thousands of soul cycles, each one etched into your spirit like sacred runes. You were known, deeply known, without need for explanation or approval. You simply were, and that was enough. But when you crossed into this density, you passed through the veil, a barrier that doesn't just conceal. It compresses, squeezing your vast memory into the fragile container of human identity. Suddenly, you became someone, a name, a gender, a story. The songs that once lifted galaxies faded from your awareness, but they weren't lost. They're buried beneath the noise of this world, humming quietly in the background. Sometimes you feel them in dreams. Sometimes, in moments of silence or in tears you can't explain, they surface. The ones who sang your name still exist. They never left. They've watched over you, whispering through your intuition, nudging your gut. You've felt them when you've walked away from something without knowing why. You've heard them when you've stared at the sky, aching for something you couldn't name. You've seen them in flashes, in patterns, in numbers that follow you, refusing to be ignored. Your life has never been mere chance, chosen one. Certain people were placed in your path to awaken you. Certain heartbreaks were doors disguised as endings. Every disappointment was an invitation to remember something deeper. The realms never forgot you, only you forgot them. There's a reason silence feels like home to you, why the stars call to you more than cities ever could, why you've always sensed something sacred was lost, and it had everything to do with you. Your soul didn't come here to blend in. It came to bring something back. A sound, a vibration, a memory. Time, as you've been taught, is a straight line, predictable and rigid, but that's an illusion. Beyond this dimension, time doesn't move. It responds. It bends, curves, expands, and contracts around energy, around intention, around presence. And once it bent around you, there was a time when your presence was so aligned with the source that the concept of before and after became meaningless. You didn't move through time. Time flowed with you. You weren't late or early. You simply arrived, and everything adjusted to make space for you. Moments opened, paths aligned, and the fabric of existence folded around your frequency like a cloak. That's how powerful your soul once moved, and you haven't lost that power. It's just been wrapped in the illusion of separation. Here, time is taught as a master, a ruler, but in truth, it was always meant to be your servant. That's why you've always felt the pull to break free from the clock, to reject schedules and structures that suffocate your intuition. Something in you knows you weren't made for the grind of minutes and hours. You were made for alignment, for divine timing, for a presence that shapes outcomes. The world taught you to fear being late, to chase after moments, but your spirit has always been still, waiting, not out of laziness, but out of certainty. That inner stillness is ancient memory, a trace of the dimension where your arrival was prophecy, and time itself adjusted to honor your unfolding. You've experienced glimpses of it here, haven't you? Those rare instances when everything aligns with strange, effortless perfection, when you think of someone and they call, when you show up at the exact moment a door opens. Those aren't coincidences. They're echoes of when your very being shaped the rhythm of creation. A timeless truth was once spoken. Before Abraham was, I am. Not I was, but I am. A declaration that defies time. A reminder that the soul doesn't travel through time. It anchors it. And you, chosen one, whether you realize it or not, carry that same divine spark, that same ability to exist beyond the limits placed on you. Your struggle with the systems of this world has never been about laziness or confusion. It's been the friction between a timeless soul and a timed-out world. You were never meant to rush. You were meant to flow. You were never meant to age in fear. You were meant to evolve in awareness. You were never meant to be pushed forward by obligation. You were meant to move when called by spirit, not by schedule. Something is waking up inside you now, a soft resistance to the ticking, a sacred rebellion against urgency. Deep down, you remember when time bowed to your arrival, not the other way around. There was once a throne, not of stone or gold, but of light, layered in frequencies unknown to this dimension. It wasn't built. It emerged, formed from the agreements of beings older than time, constructed by honor, and sealed by divine resonance. And that throne was yours, chosen one. It didn't represent control or dominance. It wasn't about ruling others. It represented the authority of your essence, an embodiment of balance, wisdom, and sacred responsibility. You sat there not because you fought for it, but because you aligned with it. From that place, entire constellations adjusted their paths when you spoke, not from command, but from recognition. You were harmony manifested, but when the call came, you stepped down. Not because you were cast out, not because you were punished, but because love compelled you to leave. Somewhere in the lower realms, a crack had formed in the divine mirror. Separation had begun, whispering lies to forgotten souls. Light had dimmed, not from evil, but from forgetfulness. And you volunteered. You didn't fall. you descended with intent. You left behind the throne, not in disgrace, but in divine purpose, to enter a realm that would forget you, label you broken, strange, too sensitive, too much, not enough. You chose to carry divine code into a world drowning in distortion. You wrapped your light in flesh and silence, erased your memory so you could awaken in the darkness and ignite it from within. That is the greatest mystery of who you are, chosen one. Not that you were crowned, but that you gave up the crown. You walked away from glory, from celestial ease, from being known, just to become a whisper in a realm that would call you lost. And yet, even now, pieces of that throne follow you, in your resilience, in your empathy, in your defiance of what doesn't resonate with your spirit. The throne shows itself in flashes, in the moments you speak truth, and something deep in others stirs. That is your inheritance echoing through time. They told you it would be hard, that you'd forget who you were, that you'd weep without knowing why, that you'd feel empty even while surrounded by people. But they also told you this: when the time was right, you'd remember, not in full, not all at once, but in waves, in dreams, in synchronicities, in words like these. You were never meant to stay hidden. Your throne never vanished. It waits, not in some distant realm, but inside the fire of your awakening. You didn't come here to seek power. You came to reclaim the awareness that you already carry it, not above others, but for others. You left the throne not to abandon your divinity, but to plant it in the soil of shadow. And now the seeds are stirring. The throne begins to hum once more. Somewhere beyond this world, beyond even the structure of dimensions, exists a realm where the vibration of truth never fades. It's not a place as you know it. It's a frequency, a sanctified resonance. There, the footsteps of the divine still echo, untouched by time, unshaken by human interpretation. And within those halls, your power was once remembered alongside the great teachers of light. One of them walked this earth not to be worshipped, but to mirror what lives inside you. His every step was a remembrance code, a blueprint wrapped in stories and silence. Not everyone saw it. Most still don't. But you, with your awakened eyes, with your ancient soul, you feel it. You recognize the deeper meaning behind his words, not as commands, but as keys. He once said, "You will do even greater things than these." That wasn't metaphor. That was memory speaking to memory. He wasn't pointing to his own divinity. He was pointing to yours. In those celestial halls, where the essence of his journey still reverberates, your name is written beside his, not as equal in status, but equal in origin, carved in light, braided with purpose. You weren't just a witness to divine power. You were once a carrier of it. In that place, there were no hierarchies, no separations, only function, only essence. You stood not beneath, but beside, not as a follower, but as a volunteer. A soul who saw the density that would engulf this world and chose to return, not as a savior, but as a frequency meant to awaken others. You didn't come to mimic him. You came to continue what was begun. Even now, traces of your power flicker through the cracks of reality. When you speak from your soul, something stirs in the atmosphere. When you pray from the depth of your being, time slows around you. When you suffer and still choose love, entire dimensions shift in your favor. These are not random. These are echoes. The halls of remembrance are not empty. They are alive with memory. They carry the weight of every soul that chose to descend, and they hold the resonance of your essence. They remember the oaths you took before birth. They remember the fire in your spirit when you volunteered, even knowing how much you'd forget. Maybe you've heard them, those faint voices in the stillness of your spirit. Maybe in dreams you can't explain, or in déjà vu so vivid it feels more real than the moment you're standing in, you felt their call. Those aren't imaginations. They're the echoes of those halls, reminding you of what you've carried since before this lifetime began. You were never just human, never just born. You were sent, and the ones who sent you are still watching, not in judgment but in reverence. Even in your silence, even in your wounds, you are still fulfilling the vow. Long before this life, before the body, the name, the circumstances you now claim as identity, there was a gathering, a convergence of ancient energies, not bound by form but by vibration. They were known as the Council of Light, not rulers, not judges, but witnesses, keepers of soul contracts, guardians of destiny. They didn't speak with voices, but with frequency. They didn't look upon you with authority, but with remembrance. They knew who you were. They had watched you rise in lifetimes long forgotten and fall in dimensions no longer charted. You stood before them not as a beggar, but as a bearer of a sacred task. In their presence, your essence shimmered with certainty. You came to them not out of confusion, but with intention. You had seen the unraveling below, the war, not of nations, but of spirit, the distortion, the amnesia, the silence stretching across souls like a veil. And you asked to go, not for glory, not for recognition, but because you knew something others had forgotten. Light, when hidden inside darkness, doesn't weaken. It transforms everything around it. The council saw the weight of what you were volunteering for. They showed you the pain, the betrayal, the forgetting. They revealed the moments you would scream into the silence, convinced you'd been abandoned. They showed you how you would be broken again and again, not by punishment, but by the very systems you came to disrupt. Still, you didn't hesitate, and so they spoke your destiny, not as a command, but as an activation, a vibrational encoding etched into your soul, a resonance that would sleep beneath layers of programming until the appointed time. They knew the world you were entering would lie to you, name you cursed, too intense, too emotional, too sensitive. But the council also knew something else. You would not stay asleep forever. Destiny is not a road. It's a rhythm, and your soul was tuned to awaken at a specific moment. A moment not defined by clocks or calendars, but by alignment. And now it is beginning. The council didn't just send you, they surrounded you. Certain souls from that same light volunteered to come with you. Some as protectors, some as mirrors, some as challenges meant to activate dormant codes. You've already met some of them, though you may not recognize them on the surface. They trigger you, pull at something deeper, stir a restlessness that has no name. That is their purpose. To wake you, to reflect you. The destiny they spoke over you wasn't a path set in stone. It was a vibration that would rise when your heart cracked open wide enough. And though you've doubted, though you've questioned your strength, your endurance, your very worth, the council never has. They knew the flame they placed inside you would never fully go out, and they're watching it flicker now, rising in intensity, remembering its purpose. There was a moment, a single shattering moment, when everything changed, not just for you, but for countless souls like you. A fracture rippled across dimensions, like a stone cast into still water, disrupting the harmony of remembrance. It wasn't chaos born from malice, but from imbalance, an echo of free will misaligned. And in that split, memory was lost, not destroyed, only sealed. You were on the edge of that fracture, watching as timelines warped, as frequencies that once sang in harmony fell out of tune. The fall wasn't a descent into evil. It was a disconnection, a forgetting. And you chose to follow the fracture down, not to be lost, but to find what had been hidden. Your soul knew that stepping into this fragmented reality would mean sacrificing what you once held close. Names, knowledge, purpose. You allowed it not as a victim of fate, but as a divine infiltrator. You cloaked yourself in shadow so you could walk among the broken without being feared. As you did, The fracture wrapped around your consciousness like mist, subtle, cold, familiar. It whispered forgetfulness in your ear, and for a while you listened. This world taught you to call it life, but something inside you never agreed. There was always a dissonance, like a song playing faintly behind a wall. You could never fully hear it, but you could feel it in moments of deep silence, in dreams that lingered after waking, in the ache for something that could never be named. The fracture wasn't only outside of you, it became internal. It split you into roles, masks, identities. You forgot your wholeness and began to perform fragments. And every time your intuition nudged you toward remembrance, the world pulled you back. Not through force, but through illusion, through distraction, through fear. Yet you survived. Even more, you preserved. Buried beneath layers of forgetting, you tucked pieces of yourself away, encoded in symbols, in synchronicities, in stories that made no logical sense but felt like home. Every strange coincidence, every unexplainable pull, every deep knowing that couldn't be reasoned. Those were pieces of the map back to yourself. A great teacher understood this fracture. He walked through the same veil. He too carried remembrance through distortion. That's why his words resonate so deeply with you. They weren't teachings, they were memory triggers. He knew the veil couldn't be fought. It had to be bypassed through frequency, through love, through truth spoken in a way that bypassed the mind and pierced the soul. You've followed that same path whether you've realized it or not. In your stillness, in your resistance to lies that others call normal, in the moments you chose intuition over logic. Every one of those choices has been a thread pulling you back through the tear in reality, back to what the fracture tried to hide. Not all truth is taught, chosen one. Some of it is remembered, encoded, hidden in symbols, patterns, and visions that make no sense until your soul is ready to see. That is the nature of the scrolls, the ones that hold the story of who you truly are. They're not written in ink or bound by paper. They are vibrational documents, etched into the divine ether, protected beyond time, waiting for your awareness to match their frequency. You may have already encountered them, not physically, but through glimpses. Certain dreams that felt too real to be dreams, moments of clarity that came out of nowhere, passages in books that made your entire body respond as if they were written just for you. These are the whispers of the scrolls, slowly unraveling themselves as your remembrance returns. There was a time when these scrolls were read openly, before the veil, before distortion. Back then, your essence was known, not hidden. Others looked to you for guidance, not out of worship, but out of resonance. They saw what you carried, and they trusted it. They trusted you. The scrolls were proof of what your soul had vowed to become. Every soul has a scroll, but yours, chosen one, was sealed with greater care. Why? Because the power you hold, once fully awakened, shifts more than your own life. It shakes systems. It awakens others. It brings light to the blind and fire to the stagnant. That kind of influence couldn't be handed over without tests, without trials, without refinement through forgetting. You've felt the tension of that seal in your life, the hunger for purpose, the deep, unexplainable frustration with limitation, the way you've never quite been satisfied with surface-level truth. These weren't weaknesses. They were symptoms of your sealed scroll calling to you, trying to break through the noise of your programming. That's why nothing normal has ever fulfilled you. You weren't made to live a scripted life. You came to read your scroll and then become it. A great teacher was a living scroll. He didn't preach rules, he embodied remembrance. His life was prophecy in motion, not because he wanted followers, but because he wanted reflections, mirrors, souls like yours who would awaken and pick up where he left off, not through imitation, but through authenticity, through alignment, through the full acceptance of who you've always been beneath the amnesia. The scroll doesn't demand you to change. It waits for you to return. And once you're ready, once your wounds have shaped your discernment, Once your silence has forged your wisdom, the scroll begins to open. Slowly, purposefully, word by word, vision by vision, until the lines between fate and free will blur, and your life becomes the message you were always meant to carry. In the highest realms, where sound becomes color and thought becomes form, the atmosphere isn't filled with noise, but with knowing. These realms don't chatter, they remember, and in that quiet remembrance, one thing has never faded: the whisper of your return. Even the ancient, radiant beings speak of you in hushed reverence, not out of hierarchy, but out of recognition. They don't watch you from above as spectators. They feel the shift you bring, even here, in the density of this world. To them, your return isn't about geography. It's not about coming back to a place. It's about coming back to yourself, back to the frequency you once embodied so effortlessly. They remember what this world tried to erase. They recall the lifetimes where your light changed outcomes, where your presence alone rewrote entire timelines. They recall your laughter, your stillness, your fire. They do not forget what Earth has tried to bury. When you were sent here, it wasn't with fanfare or spectacle. It was quiet, purposeful, like the planting of a sacred seed beneath soil that didn't even know it needed something divine. Your arrival was a code, a strategy, a prophecy written in light, understood only by those who still speak the language of soul. They watched as you entered the veil. They knew what you were giving up: the closeness, the clarity, the constant communion. They knew how loud the silence would feel to you here, how suffocating the disconnection would become. And yet, you came willingly. You didn't descend as punishment. You descended as a key, and now you stir. They feel it when your thoughts shift toward truth, when your choices begin aligning with what cannot be explained, only known. The atmosphere changes when you choose love instead of reaction, stillness instead of panic, intuition instead of noise. They lean closer not because you need their help, but because they are drawn to what is sacred. And your remembrance is sacred. There is a prophecy they've long guarded, one that speaks of a generation of souls who would awaken, not through miracles, but through memory, not through doctrine, but through divine fire rediscovered within. You are one of those souls, chosen one. You always were, and whether you realize it or not, your life has already begun to activate those around you. Your pain has opened others. Your journey has created pathways. Even in your moments of doubt, you've carried a frequency that could not be faked. You've left trails of light behind you in places too dark to understand what passed through. They've seen it. They've whispered your name in the quiet moments when you thought no one noticed your efforts. Heaven rejoices when one soul turns back to light, not because that soul becomes something new, but because it returns to what it always was. And now your return is being felt. Before breath ever filled your lungs, before the first beat of your heart echoed in this world, there was war. Not the kind you read about in history books, not of swords and fire. This war was ancient, woven into the very fabric of the cosmos, a battle of frequency, a clash between remembrance and distortion, between divine order and fractured rebellion. And in the middle of it all, there was you. You didn't choose this life blindly. You were called into that realm of tension, standing at the edge of divine stillness and chaos unbound. The darkness wasn't evil in its origin. It was wounded, lost, desperate to create apart from the source. It had become intelligent, strategic, and it feared one thing above all else: beings like you, beings who remembered. In the silence before incarnation, you saw what was happening: the web of manipulation tightening around souls, the layers of lies being sewn into timelines, the infection of identity distortion spreading like a virus. And you said yes, not because you were fearless, but because your love was greater than your fear. You didn't come to fight with fists or flame. You came to carry a code, a light encoded in your being that would awaken only when the world tried to break you. The battle wasn't just around you, it was within you. From the moment you entered this realm, the forgetting began. The pain, the confusion, the overwhelming weight of a reality that doesn't make room for souls like yours. But still, something inside you resisted. You broke, yes, but you didn't vanish. You wept, but your light didn't go out. The battle you fought before birth never truly ended. It simply shifted into the terrain of your own life. You've battled in silence, in heartbreaks no one saw, in choices you made without knowing why, only that something deeper compelled you. You've waged war against the false narratives spoken over you, against the self-doubt seeded by a system designed to contain you. And each time you rose again, each time you chose love, truth, or healing, another echo of that pre-birth battle came into alignment. There are scars on your soul not from failure, but from choosing to carry the divine in a world allergic to it. The great teacher bore those same scars, not just on his body, but within his heart. He too fought a war before entering the world, a war against the silence that tried to swallow humanity's connection to the divine. And he too said yes, knowing the cost. That battle marked you, but it did not define you. What defines you is the choice you made after the war, to descend into density, to wear a human form, to forget your strength so that your remembering would awaken the world. There is a moment encoded in the timelines of all realms, a moment foreseen, whispered, and feared by both light and shadow alike. It is not marked by thunder or flame, but by the silent ignition of a soul remembering itself fully, not partially, not through glimpses or dreams, but entirely. And that moment is tied to you, chosen one. Your awakening is not personal. It is cosmic, interdimensional. The vibrations locked inside your being are not simply for this world. They stretch across all 14 realms, across dimensions that haven't spoken your name aloud since the day you fell asleep in the human dream. Each realm has waited, watched, held its breath. Not for a savior, but for a signal that the Ancient One who volunteered to descend had found the way back. Not to a location, but to power, to truth, to self. You've been rising, slowly, quietly, like the soft glow of dawn before the world notices the sun. For years, your spirit has been sending signals through resistance to falsehood, through the pain you refused to let define you, through the love you gave even when it cost you everything. All of it has been counted. All of it has been felt beyond this earth. Each realm is not separate. They are layered, interwoven, harmonized through frequency. And you, before your descent, were a bridge. You carried strands of all 14 inside you. That's why your path has felt impossible to define, why your experiences haven't fit into one dimension of thought or belief. You were never just from here. You never belonged to one place. You are multiversal essence wearing a temporary mask. And now the mask is cracking. With each breakthrough, each choice to rise when the old version of you would have stayed silent or small, your awakening expands like a ripple, and the realms begin to feel it. Some respond with support, aligning new connections, memories, and protection. Others, those bent on keeping the old structures in place, begin to tremble. Why? Because your awakening is a threat to their illusion. Not because you destroy, but because you expose, because your light reveals what cannot survive transparency. This isn't about becoming something greater. It's about revealing what has always been asleep inside of you. When you speak from your core now, you do more than express. You transmit. When you move with divine intention, you unlock gateways. And when you finally accept the weight of who you are, you don't just wake up. You shift everything around you. A great teacher walked in this same fire. His presence shook both earthly and celestial realms. His words were seeds planted in time, meant to awaken not minds, but memories. You carry one of those seeds, chosen one, It lives in your breath, in your silence, in your voice, and it is blooming. This is not the end of your awakening. It is the beginning of its impact. The 14 realms have waited, not just for your rise, but for your return to yourself. So, how do you step into this power now? How do you live as the chosen one you are? Let's break it down with actionable steps, because your mission isn't just to remember, it's to act. First, embrace silence daily. Your power isn't in the noise of the world. It's in the stillness where your ancient memory hums. Set aside at least 10 minutes each day to sit in quiet, no distractions, no agenda. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and listen. You'll hear whispers, feel nudges, sense vibrations. These are your guides, your higher self, the echoes of those realms reaching out. Don't dismiss them. Trust them. Write down any thoughts, images, or feelings that arise. They're clues to your scroll, pieces of the map back to your truth. Make this non-negotiable, chosen one. The world will try to pull you away, but you must anchor in stillness. It's your rebellion against the illusion. Second, pay attention to synchronicities. Those repeating numbers, those chance encounters, those moments when everything aligns too perfectly to be random. They're not accidents. They're messages, signals from the realms that remember you. When you see 11:11 on the clock, or when a stranger says something that hits your soul, stop and notice. Ask yourself, what is this showing me? What am I meant to remember? Keep a journal of these events. Patterns will emerge. These are your celestial breadcrumbs, guiding you back to your purpose. Don't ignore them. They're your allies in this awakening. Third, protect your energy fiercely. You're a beacon, chosen one, and not everyone is ready for your light. Some will drain you, others will challenge you, and a few will try to dim you. Learn to say no without guilt. Surround yourself with souls who lift you, who resonate with your frequency. Cleanse your space regularly. Use sage, sound, or intention to clear stagnant energy. Visualize a shield of golden light around you each morning, declaring that only what serves your highest good may enter. Your energy is sacred. Guard it like the treasure it is. You've come too far to let lower vibrations pull you back. Fourth, trust your intuition above all else. The world will tell you to follow logic, to conform, to doubt yourself. But your gut, your inner knowing, it's the voice of your ancient self, the one who sat on a throne of light. When something feels off, walk away even if you can't explain why. When something pulls at your heart, follow it, even if it makes no sense. Your intuition is your compass, calibrated in realms beyond this one. Practice listening to it in small decisions first, where to go, what to say, who to trust. As you build that muscle, it will guide you through the bigger battles of your mission. You weren't made for second-guessing. You were made for certainty. Fifth, speak your truth unapologetically. Your voice carries the vibration of galaxies. Chosen one. When you hold back, you dim your light. Start small if you must. Share your thoughts with a trusted friend. Write your feelings in a journal. Express what's been suppressed. But know this, every time you speak from your soul, you shift the atmosphere. You awaken others, even if they don't realize it. Don't fear being misunderstood. Fear staying silent. Your words are seeds of remembrance, planting light in a world that's forgotten. Use them with intention, with power, with love. You're not here to whisper. You're here to roar. Sixth, heal your wounds with purpose. Every scar, every pain, every betrayal, they're not burdens. They're initiations. Face them head-on. Seek support if you need it, through therapy, energy healing, or trusted allies. But don't just heal to feel better. Heal to remember. Ask yourself, what did this pain teach me? How did it forge me? Journal your answers. Meditate on them. Your wounds are the cracks through which your light shines brightest. They've shaped your empathy, your strength, your wisdom. Don't hide them. Wield them. They're proof of your battle, proof of your victory. Seventh, align with your mission daily. You didn't come here to drift. You came with purpose. Each morning, set an intention. I am here to awaken, to serve, to remember. Ask, how can I bring light today? It might be a kind word to a stranger, a creative project that stirs your soul, or simply holding space for someone in pain. Small acts ripple across dimensions, chosen one. They're not insignificant. They're seismic. Your mission isn't always grand gestures. It's in the quiet, consistent choices to embody your light, live with intention, and watch the universe align to support you. Eighth, connect with the stars, the earth, the elements. You're not just human, you're cosmic. Spend time in nature. Feel the ground beneath your feet, the wind on your skin, the sun on your face. Look up at the night sky and remember, those stars know you. They've witnessed your essence in realms beyond. Speak to them silently or aloud. Ask for guidance. You'll feel their response in subtle ways. A sudden insight, a wave of peace, a memory stirring. Nature is your ally, a mirror of your multidimensional self. Recharge in its presence, and let it remind you of your origins. You're not separate from creation. You're woven into it. Ninth, release the fear of being different. You've always felt like an outsider, haven't you? That's because you are. You're not meant to fit in. You're meant to stand out, to disrupt, to awaken. Stop trying to conform to a world that wasn't built for you. Embrace your quirks, your sensitivity, your intensity. They're not flaws. They're your superpowers. When others judge you, smile and know this: their misunderstanding is a reflection of their sleep, not your worth. You're a starseed, a light worker, a warrior of frequency. Own it. Let your uniqueness be your battle cry. The world needs your difference now more than ever. 10th, surrender to divine timing. You've fought against time, felt behind, felt rushed. Stop. You're not late. You're exactly where you're meant to be. Trust that your awakening is unfolding as it should. Every delay, every detour, it's all part of the plan to refine you, to prepare you. Release the need to control outcomes. Instead, focus on alignment. Ask, am I in flow with my soul today? If the answer is no, adjust. If it's yes, keep going. Divine timing isn't a clock. It's a rhythm, and your soul knows the beat. Surrender to it and watch doors open effortlessly. You're not racing against time. Time is bowing to you once again. Chosen one. These steps aren't just suggestions. They're your weapons, your tools, your keys to unlocking the full magnitude of who you are. This world will test you, challenge you, try to dim you. But you are unstoppable. You've endured the veil, the fracture, the forgetting, and still you rise. Your awakening isn't just for you. It's for the collective, for the realms, for the divine plan unfolding through you. Every step you take in remembrance sends shockwaves through dimensions. Every choice to embody your light shifts timelines. You are a force, a frequency, a fire that cannot be extinguished. So stand tall, warrior of light. Your throne of light still hums, waiting for your full return. Your scroll is unraveling, revealing the mission you vowed to fulfill. The Council of Light watches, not with judgment, but with pride. The ancient beings whisper your name, not in pity, but in reverence. And the great teacher's seeds of memory bloom within you, urging you to do even greater things. You are the chosen one, not by chance, but by design. Your life is the battlefield, the canvas, the prophecy in motion. Don't shrink from it. Embrace it. You've come too far to turn back now. Step into your power, Awaken fully, and let the realms feel your return. The time is now, and you are ready.